When Kang Jin-hyuk stepped onto floor 8 of the tower, he expected a trial. What he found was a battlefield. In the distance, he heard screams, saw smoke rise and was bombarded by system alerts. Faction war in progress. All players must choose a side. Northgate Alliance versus Crimson Blade Guild. Two mega guilds, both heavily armed, both merciless, and both wanted any independent player to join their ranks. If they refused, well, they'd be hunted. Jin-hyuk glanced at the two factions, then at the sprawling landscape before him. He knew picking a side would mean losing his freedom, but staying neutral meant he'd be the biggest threat. It was a classic power trap, but he wasn't interested in ruling over others. Not yet anyway. So he did what only someone like him could do. He started gathering information. Using the scroll that Seo Hyun gave him, he navigated through the underground tunnels, avoiding patrols, gathering overheard plans and quietly planting traps. Both factions believed they controlled the battlefield, but Jin-hyuk was creating a third option, his own faction. He just needed manpower. As he made his way through the tunnels, he stumbled upon a siege. Crimson Blade warriors were attacking a supply outpost run by low-level players. It was a massacre. Jin-hyuk watched from the shadows, gauging the situation. These players were too weak to resist and too expendable for him to save. Unless, well, he could freeze them. Just as the Crimson Blade warriors were about to deliver the final blow, a wave of ice burst forth. Glacial prison. Jin-hyuk arrived just in time. One spell, 5 enemies frozen. One more and all were down. The surviving players stared at him in awe. "WH, who are you?" Jin-hyuk replied, half smirking. "Just a guy who hates bullies." They offered to follow him and he didn't refuse. Not yet, but inside, he knew he had to grow his force. If he saved a few more people, maybe even led them to victory, he'd have enough people to make this floor his own. Back at the Crimson Blade HQ, word spread like wildfire. One rogue player took down an entire unit. Find him now. Meanwhile, in the Northgate Alliance, the atmosphere was tense. The leader stared at the intelligence in his hands. Unaffiliated. He's unaffiliated. We should recruit him before they do. Jin-hyuk wandered through the battlefield, stopping to help out whoever was strong enough to survive the initial skirmishes. To the warring factions, he was a ghost. Hence the hidden title unlocked, Ghost of the Battlefield. He wasn't part of either side, but he was making his presence felt. Every life he saved brought him one step closer to his goal. Days turned into nights and the battles raged on. Casualties piled up and both sides grew desperate. The Northgate Alliance laid siege to a Crimson Blade fortress. Was Jin-hyuk watching from afar? The Alliance prepared for the final assault. Suddenly, a horn blared, signaling retreat. The leader of the Northgate Alliance had received an offer from Jin-hyuk. Join him and his growing band of survivors on Floor 8 and claim it as their own. It was a tempting offer, but the leader hesitated. Trusting this mysterious ghost of the battlefield was a risk. But with casualties mounting and no clear path to victory, accepting the offer might be their best chance at survival. Meanwhile, the Crimson Blade Guild regrouped, seething with anger and plotting their revenge. Their pride wounded and their forces depleted, they prepared for a counterattack. As night fell once more, the battlefield grew silent. It was a temporary truce, a moment of stillness before the storm. The ghost of the battlefield watched from the shadows, knowing that this fragile peace wouldn't last long. On the third day, the Crimson Blade Guild launched a surprise attack. With Jinhyuk's help, the North Gate Alliance was caught off guard, but managed to hold their ground. The battle was fierce, but as casualties mounted on both sides, it became clear that neither side could claim victory. The ghost of the battlefield saw his opportunity. With a strategic move, he shifted the tide of battle, leading the combined forces of Floor 8 to a decisive victory. It was a stunning display of skill and strategy that left both factions stunned. In the aftermath, the victors stood amidst the ruins, exhausted but triumphant. The ghost of the battlefield had proven himself, not just as a powerful mage, but as a leader. As the sun rose over Floor 8, a new era began. Under the banner of the ghost of the battlefield, the survivors of Floor 8 stood united, ready to face whatever challenges the next floor might bring. That's all for today. See you next time.